Welcome back to another episode. Thanks for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, keep up to date with what I'm trying to put out there. So today the CrossFit Games officially started. So we saw the adaptive athletes, the masters and the teens, they all have completed their first 3 events on day 1 of the CrossFit Games. So very early tomorrow morning Australia time, we'll see the individual athletes take on event 1, which you already know is the long swim and the kayak. Now, some news has come out over the last 24 hours in the CrossFit space, and I just wanted to have a chat about all of that in today's episode. So it was just announced yesterday on the Buttery Bros vlog that this will be Scott Panchak's last year of competing. Now, on the male side, he is the only athlete who has lasted a long period of time throughout competition. So this is his 10th year competing. He's also done 1 year as teams as well. That was last year, which obviously he didn't get to compete, but his team qualified. He was on the Mayhem team and they qualified. Now Scott Panchak is doing his 9th individual season this year, and it'll be his last year competing at the CrossFit Games. So whether or not he'll come back as a Masters athlete later on, he is 33 years of age, so he still has a couple of years until Masters hits for him. Now on the men's side, it seems that athletes don't really stay in the game for a long time, as unlike on the women's side. So we saw people like Rebecca Voigt, for example. We've seen Annie Thorisdottir, who's been there for a very long time. People like Samantha Briggs, who is actually now 39, I believe, and she's competing in the individual field of the CrossFit Games. So whether or not women seem to be able to maintain it for a lot longer, that high level of competitiveness, than what men are able to, or the men seem to go on to other things, such as the team competition. However, Rich Froning is the only male from when Scott Panchak first started to still be officially competing in the non-masters categories. Speaking of masters categories, so we would have seen Dan Bailey. He would have been competing in the 35 to 39 year old category this year at the CrossFit Games. It has just been released that Dan Bailey has unfortunately tested positive for COVID-19, which means that he has had to medically withdraw from the competition. Now, this is quite sad to see because he obviously has had a bad run over the last few years with a fair few surgeries and stuff, and especially after his incredible performances over a long run of time at the CrossFit Games. You know, I would have loved to have seen him competing in that 35 to 39 year old category. So whilst they're not Australian athletes, Dan Bailey and Scott Panchak, with Dan Bailey, he was obviously staying with Cara Saunders. So when Cara Saunders arrived in America, she stayed with Dan Bailey. She actually got a positive COVID test, which we spoke about in yesterday's vlog. However, they then tested negative, both of them, so they were both able to still continue on. And since then, Dan Bailey's actually developed symptoms. Cara hasn't got any and she keeps testing negative, so she's able to continue on with the competition. However, Dan Bailey, now that he has a positive test, has to pull out of competition. He also mentioned as well that CrossFit was really supportive of it. Whilst he was testing negative, he would have had his own lane, his own warm-up area, everything like that away from the athletes just in case. So speaking of Cara Saunders, it's also been announced that Cara Saunders is now sponsored by Innovate. So she was a long time athlete sponsored by Nike. So it's going to be a big change for her going to a new sponsor. I just had a look through her social media. She has been wearing Innovate shoes for a little while. The last post I've been able to find of her in Nike shoes was at the Touring Pro. So this has obviously happened after the Touring Pro. So we've seen her go to a smaller company, but they might be offering a lot more that works for her. So like what we saw with Tia, okay, when she went from Reebok, which is a humongous worldwide company, okay, to then going to NoBull. So maybe this is going to be the same for Cara. She started off with a big name company and now she's gone to a little bit of a smaller company, so where they work more with their athletes rather than having a big pool of athletes to work with. So that's the news that I've got for you guys coming into the CrossFit Games. So as I said, tomorrow morning, so it'll be, I think it's around midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, the individual athletes start to do individual event 1 for the CrossFit Games. and then we'll start to roll through more stuff tomorrow as well, which will be great to see. So I'll make sure that I do a vlog updating everyone on what happens from individual event 1. So that obviously won't come out until tomorrow evening. And then we'll keep pushing through with more up-to-date stuff on what's happening in the CrossFit space. So thanks again for watching. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and keep up to date with what I'm trying to put out there. Thanks.